I'd like to go to agenda item 5.2, spend about 30 or so minutes on that, and then the remainder of the time we can look at 5.1 again for those additional legislative, I lost the term, legislative requests for statutory changes. So let's go to 5.2. This is draft legislation funding requests for the 26th general session. Okay. And Deputy Superintendent Jones, are you on deck for questions? And I neglected to invite Deputy Superintendent Newey to share before we started. Is there anything that you need to tee us up for here? Let me get your microphone. There you go.
Time now, though. Yeah. So, Chair, we have the process mapped out to present, but I mean, we can just jump right to the requests. Do you want to review the process again? We typically do that in this meeting. So in the September meeting, which I know is now, but
Yeah.
just to get ahead of that, after your October meeting, the expectation is that you'll submit your proposals to the governor in rank order. Do you want us to do that, or I mean?
Well, if you can summarize, I know Elise we asked you to kind of give one. I don't know if you had a full presentation. We are short on time, but I do recognize that there's a meeting with the governor. There's the legislative leadership, including Speaker of the House and Senate President. They're interested, so we do want to put things forth. Scott, fill in with that. You're saying timeline. We're looking at October meeting is we've already met with the governor by then.
Right.
But that doesn't change the fact that we could bring things forth or vote on different things or rearrange our priorities even. But we just have to have something to take to the governor. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, that would stem from this meeting with the caveat that, hey, you still have one more meeting in October before you present your final proposal in accordance with the Budgetary Procedures Act to the governor. The meeting with the governor is, I think, September 25th. So yes, it will be before your October meeting. And, we would make sure it's abundantly clear that it's still, your requests for funding are still pending that October meeting. So, but we could show them the initial list. So.
And as they come in after October, do we just update the governor?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we do that. Staff just takes that upon themselves to do that all the way up until the point where the governor releases his budget. So, or his proposal to the legislature, which is typically the last week in November or first week in December. So.
Thank you, Scott. That's helpful.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to, I don't know, walk them through that real quick, or do you want me to, or?
Perfect. So we are in the Pink Star area of this process. So we have received some funding request ideas from staff. You'll see those in backup. Right now, there's really only one that is there that's in the chart. Finance Committee has also requested that staff put together full proposals for several ideas. And those are also in your backup. Again, you don't need to vote on those today because those will be taken to the October meeting where you get to rank them. Today is just if there's any other ideas that you would like staff to develop into full proposals with all of the numbers and the estimates and the details fleshed out, then please ask us to do that today so that we can have those ready for the October meeting.
Okay, thank you. Member Earl.
So the ones that staff have included in here will be on that one for October. Okay. I just wanted to, and if there's additional clarification we have on those, we should just reach out to the staff members. Okay.
Board members, I'm not seeing any lights. Do we have any budget? Okay, Member Reel.
Thank you, Chair. I do have one. It was a legislative funding request that we had in 2023. And it's related to school transportation. And so I'd like to recommend adding that to the list as a funding request for the board. I think we had I mean, I think it would be a little bit different, and we can work out the details of that, of the exact number and dollar amount. But I don't know if you have it up here. Did you ever? Oh, you sent it to me. Shoot. Okay. Oh, I went offline. That's why. It's pupil transportation. And it basically increases the state-supported pupil transportation funding level to an 85% and helps district address rising fuel costs and bus driver shortages without having to redirect as much operational funding to transportation budgets.
Okay, so Member Reel, does this motion read correctly?
Is that enough in there, Deputy Jones? Okay, yeah.
Okay, the motion is that the board direct the superintendent to develop a funding request for pupil transportation to increase the level to an 85%. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, that motion is second.
Member Bogus, are you in the queue or are you speaking to this motion? Okay. Member Carey? Oh, I'm sorry. Did Member Reel speak to her? Did you speak to this
I did
already?
before.
Okay. Member Carey, please.
Yeah, I just want to speak in favor of this. I've heard from several parents this year, especially regarding transportation-related issues. I want to thank the Ogden and Weber school districts for taking those concerns seriously. But I've had several conversations with Director Litchfeld here at USBE, who quintupled my knowledge of transportation issues and funding issues, and we could do better in this area. So I appreciate the motion. Thank you.
Okay. So the motion then is that the board direct the superintendent to develop a funding request for pupil transportation to increase the level to 85%. Let's go ahead and vote. And Vice Chair Bollinger is eager to have everybody back so that we don't have to vote like this ever again, I hope.
I love electronic voting. I'm grateful for that. All right, Member Bogus. Okay, Member Bogus is a no. Member Booth?
Yes.
Member Britton?
Yes.
Member Davis? Yes. Member Davis is a yes. Member Earl? This is just to put it on consideration, right? Yes. Okay. Member Earl is a yes. Member Green?
No.
Member Hall? Member Hall is a yes. Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Kelly is a yes. Member Carey? Yes. Member Carey is a yes. Member Lear? Yes. Member Lear is a yes. Member Longacre? Member Longacre is a yes. Member Reel? Yes. Member Reel is a yes. Vice Chair Wood?
No.
Okay, Vice Chair Wood is a no. I am a yes. And Chair Hymas?
Yes.
Chair Hymas is a yes. So that motion carries 12-3. The no votes being Member Bogus, Member Green, and Vice Chair Wood.
Thank you. Next, we've got Member Bogus. And let me, I'm going to put, so we don't have to leave our lights on, I've got Member Kelly next and Member Carey after Member Kelly. Thank you. So Member Bogus.
So I move that the board move forward the funding requests for UPAC and BTS.
There is a motion that the board move forward the funding for UPAC and BTS.
Yep.
And what is, for clarity? Yes. From what I understand, we voted on that in Finance Committee. That was one that we took to Finance Committee, brought it to the board, and we accepted that. So I don't know if that's necessary. It's
UPAC
been
did.
done.
UPAC didn't.
Is UPAC part of that, staff?
I
Scott?
don't believe so.
Well, okay, so in your backups are all of the board directed to the staff to put together the request for funding for your consideration. So I'm not, what do you mean by move forward? Yes, they move forward, so that when you get to October, you can, yeah, it's on the list. So, yeah, so it's moved forward, but it's still pending your October meeting for you to finalize whether or not you're going to put it into your proposal to the governor and in what order, you prioritize these requests.
Okay, then I would like to change my motion. I move to amend the UPAC funding request.
Okay, go ahead.
I think we should ask for at least 10 FTE and not 2. And if we could bring Debbie Davis in, I'd like to ask her some questions.
There's a motion that the board move to amend the UPAC funding request to include 10 FTEs. Do we have a second? Second. There's a second. Back to you, Member Bogus.
Awesome. Could we bring CAE Davis? How are you? Good.
Thank you.
Are you ready? Are you ready, sir?
CAE Davis, go ahead. You've got a question for Debbie, please.
Yeah, I would just love for you to articulate the data that you had found with regard to the number of reports received and the number of people that would be needed to investigate those reports should they end up in UPAC and that data, because it does not seem as if this request is supported by that kind of data. I wonder if you would just articulate that to the board and then allow us to kind of query you so that we have a better understanding.
Okay, through the chair. So Chief Audit Executive Debbie Davis. The data that I can provide to you is related to the public education hotline that the internal audit department maintains. And of course, you're aware we do refer some of the concerns that come in to UPAC, and then they would take it from there as far as if an investigation would happen or not. Related, so data that I can provide, in the previous 2 legislative sessions, there have been questions about, well, what if the State Board of Education did investigations of the hotline complaints that come in? So this is a little bit different than UPAC. So again, I'm not speaking to everything that Ben's group does or the investigations that they do, but based on the information that I have on the hotline, and grant you, I put this together based on 2024 data. We do have 2025, but I haven't run those numbers, and of course recognizing that the board did change or amended our 277-123 going forward, so that if that changes the landscape at all. But the data that I have that we put together is that in order to investigate credible hotline complaints that came in, it would require 35 FTEs. And I can break that down if you'd like, but that's the overall number that I came up with based on the data that we maintain.
That's horrifying. Okay. I've got Vice Chair Bollinger.
Thank you, Chair. If I may direct a question back to CAE Davis. A question. So currently these complaints that are coming in, that would be the FTE if we were investigating everything. But if we don't investigate everything, what happens to those complaints? Are those investigated back at a local level? I just want to make sure, we obviously want to make sure those are addressed and that concerns are addressed. Just want to see what happens if it didn't come to USBE.
Certainly. So right now the process under our 277-123 is that we receive a concern and then we make appropriate referrals to an entity or a section of the USBE that has authority or jurisdiction to investigate. So generally when these are coming in, if it's related to educator misconduct, which would be those specific to UPAC, and grant you there are other concerns, unlicensed individuals, things not related to educator misconduct that would not go to UPAC. But for any concern that comes in, we will, if appropriate, refer back to the LEA, and then they would have the opportunity to investigate. And of course, the board in the amended rule now is requiring them to report back at a higher level of detail if the concern is substantiated or not. We also may refer to other sections of the USBE, for example, special education, other student support, for bullying, those types of things, we'll refer those. So it's possible that there could be almost parallel investigations going on if it is educator misconduct or just adult on student or child, a concern there, we refer that to DCFS as a mandatory reporter. So there are several different ways that it could be investigated. We don't have all the information about is it investigated, or if an LEA does the investigation, what was the process that has been used. We have received concerns on the hotline about those investigations, just how they're carried out, who is doing the investigation. That's probably more information than you wanted at this point, but anyway, so several entities could do investigations when concerns are received.
Thank you. Member Lear?
Thank you. I don't know if this would be to the maker of the motion or to if CAE Davis has this information, but 35 was the number I heard, but 10, how much money, well, let me preface that so it kind of sets up my expectations. An investigator is not just a live, warm body who starts asking questions. It should be somebody with some training. I would prefer legal training, frankly, or somebody that has some background. But so how much would the amount be for 10 FTEs? I'm interested what that request would equal. 2 million at the high end? Okay. And that would be of the right kind of individuals. Is that right, Scott?
Considering attorneys and what we've in the market, to pay for it.
And that's even if we can find that many.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
But if I may, Chair, that this offers a point of clarification. Is Board Member Spagas' motion proposing 10 total FTEs, including the ones that are in front of you now that are being proposed, or 10 more above what's in your backups right now?
Can you clarify your motion, Member Bogus?
Yes, it would be 8 additional, so it would be 10 total.
Okay.
10 total, 8 additional.
One other consideration is my understanding is the proposal also includes calculations for increases in salaries for the existing positions. So, so that's where, I mean, I just rounded up, or
I got it.
So roughly.
I round up really well.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then kind of a related question, then I have a separate one. Would that include any training or for either educators or these investigators, or that's just flat out the 10 FTEs or 8 FTEs, as it turns out, additional? So this doesn't include training for anybody, either the investigators or existing teachers who now have perhaps some new standards.
Is that to the maker of the motion?
It took Christina, yes.
Yeah, please, Member Bogus.
So in reviewing the funding request, I did not see any of that information in there. I don't think that anyone would be opposed to putting it in there, but that information was not referenced in the funding request, to the best of my recollection, Member Lear.
Okay, and then my final question, in the interest of time, is to Debbie Davis, which would be, you said credible complaints. So does that divide out employment complaints versus licensing complaints, or does it give any deference to those that are purely LEA issues, or is that just complaints that don't sound, that sound completely frivolous? If that's okay.
Yeah, please.
So the way I calculated that number, we took our total number of hotlines and then we did an estimate that 80%, and that was based on the data. So if there was insufficient information, that wouldn't show up, but that would include other than LEA type concerns that would be included.
I'm not understanding you. Other than that, those are ones that takes away the ones that you sent to LEAs that are certainly LEA concerns. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think we drew a hard line there that, this is only LEA, because a lot of the concerns that come in, they might have an LEA component, but there could be an other component as well relating to a board concern. So
it could end up being conflicting or duplicative investigating with LEAs.
Possibly if they also investigate.
And also duplicative or conflicting with law enforcement. Is that also possible?
In the same way that a UPAC investigation now might conflict with law enforcement, sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Carey.
CAE Davis, you are in need of help in audit. You need more investigators. You need more FTEs. Let me ask you this. What percentage of credible complaints are now being investigated by audit?
Please, yes. I'm just, can I clarify with Member Carey? This is UPAC, you're talking audit. Are we combining?
No.
I'm misunderstanding somewhere, please.
Let me preface that by saying the number was given that we would need 35 FTEs if 100% of all credible complaints were being investigated by audit. That was my understanding. So what I'm asking is, if it takes 35 to do 100%, what percentage are we doing today? Because you don't have 35 FTEs. So that's my question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that clarity. Debbie?
So in accordance with R277123, internal audit is generally not investigating. I believe we've done one, and that was when the concern, actually, it was under R277114, that we did an investigation at the direction of the audit committee. So internal audit is not investigating complaints.
And may I follow up? And, but let me go back to the transportation issue. Because of Rule 123, I was given notice of some constituent concerns with transportation, which allowed me to follow up. And when I reached out to our transportation department here at USBE, they had already received that from you and had already followed up. So what percentage of the hotline complaints now are we referring out to USBE, I call them departments, and who are following up, as did, our transportation team?
Sure. I have just recently pulled these numbers because we talk about the hotline and audit committee. We have an overall referral rate for the last 5 years of 86%. So that's not breaking it down between, was it an LEA or DCFS or USBE section, but the overall referral rate is 86%. So yes, the majority are being referred somewhere else to be handled. We don't always have the information on what happens after we refer. Largely we don't, but we do refer at a high percentage.
And one final question, if I may, Chair. And so if our referral rate over the last 5 years is about 86%, the remaining 14%, what happens to those?
Certainly so, Chair. So either there was insufficient data, so there isn't enough to go on either to make a referral. Potentially we're able to, there could be an individual that refers or submits a concern and then says, well, I don't want you to do anything with it, so don't pursue it. If I want to do anything, then I'll pursue it myself. So there could be some of those. Some we would take to audit committee and say, we think this is a risk. And so it could be that there's an audit project that picks up some of those concerns. So there's a little bit of variety on what would happen there.
And one final, I know I said one final, so this will be my final. So if we're looking at but if there's 14% that are not being referred out, what would be the FTE demand to address that 14% that, well, I guess nothing if there's insufficient data or if the complainant says they don't want to pursue it, but to address that gap of 14%, what would the FTE demand be?
I don't know that I have a number for you, but I do know that we are completely overwhelmed right now with the hotline. And maybe if it's okay if I take a moment of privilege, this year with the hotline, the last 2 months with school starting, we are well above where we were prior year. Usually August is heavy. This year has been incredibly heavy. The volume is very high. So anyway.
And that's why I preface my remarks by saying you need help in audit. I fully support that. And when we passed 123, you made that clear that the demands of 123 would necessitate additional FTEs. I just wanted to get a better understanding of what that need may be. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Scott, go ahead.
So just as a reminder, The board had directed that we identify critical FTE needs across 3 areas: audit, UPAC, and superintendency. Superintendency made the decision that we wouldn't identify or create a request for funding for any additional or, critical FTE needs in any other section outside of audit or UPAC. And so you see the 2 in there now. My concern, though, is given what we know now, which is what Debbie just articulated, what is the expectation of the board? If the expectation of the board is to, adjudicate or, run these faster, I mean, right now, with all the referrals that ops has just alone, we don't have sufficient manpower to do anything but get to each one of the referrals, which we calculate over now will take up to 2.5 years. So if we're into that space, I think a lot of times, we have to understand what problem we're trying to solve when we identify, more quote unquote employee application to processes or to systems. I mean, if it's acceptable that we may not get to a particular referral for 2 years, then that was the understanding. So, but to Debbie's point, or to Chief Audit Executive Davis's point, we're overwhelmed. I mean, we're barely getting to ones that were referred back almost a year ago, and so the referrals they are really overwhelming, and that's only the ones that come directly through the hotline. We get direct referrals or questions and concerns right from LEAs themselves that we look into, and we do those types of things too. Sometimes the Office of State Auditor, or sometimes, even just following up on part of the OLAG findings, and those types of things. We just don't have the capacity to meet a shorter timeline of doing it, and it just keeps growing. So I just want to make sure that that's understood as well. So
Thanks, Scott. We've got another comment from Superintendent Hart, and then we'll continue on with board members.
So I think I want to just clarify. So we have UPAC that deals with educator complaints. We have the hotline that has general complaints or issues that come up about the whole spectrum of USBE. Then we have corrective action that inside the agency, whether it's we've identified something in financial ops, something is referred from the hotline. If you want a compliance department in USBE, that's something that you need to direct me to make. And that is something then I would bring staffing requirements for. If you want more audits of what's happening, so that audit can bring you information on what's happening in the field, that's an audit request. If you want more investigators investigating UPAC complaints specifically, that's UPAC FTE. So we need to be really clear about what we want that FTE to do, because that would change where that FTE is used. We don't want to if you want more corrective action and you want more things followed up with, then that's a directive to the agency. UPAC falls under the agency, audit falls under the board. So I think the motion is UPAC funding, which would provide UPAC, would provide relief for the UPAC concerns. That motion doesn't provide for the hotline as it's written, unless the hotline is specifically related to something that gets referred to UPAC. Staff, please, if I have misspoken, then I think Deputy Jones wants to clarify what I just said.
So Superintendent, thank you. I mean, so for further clarification, then this is why I asked, well, is it, 10 more plus what's being proposed right now for UPAC? So I guess I would respectfully request to clarify further, is this amount of FTEs, is the expectation that they'll cover both, to the superintendent's point, both educator referrals and hotline referrals? Because that is an important point, and we want to make sure that we're arrayed. But to Chief Audit Executive Davis's point, we're at 35, which really has no chance of being funded, right? I mean, that's too many. So that's the dilemma that we're in across all of the requirements now that have been put on by code. So then you do your rules, and then we do the best we can with what we have. So, but I agree with the superintendent. That level of clarity would be very important in the construction of the funding proposal, because then we make it clear that these FTEs are for both. Or, I'm not sure where we're at as far as keeping up with just educator referrals, as the superintendent mentioned. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Just a reminder, this motion is that the board move to amend the UPAC funding request to include 10 total FTE. So currently in backup, we had 2. We're seeking for 8 more. Member Bogus, this is your motion. Can we vote, or you want to speak more to it?
I would love to speak to it.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Member Davis and then Member Bogus.
Yeah, I think we need the FTE. I just don't know if it all should be in UPAC, because we have so many members of our agency that are doing the investigating and helping with the compliance and the coaching through what needs to be done to get folks into compliance. So I'm not sure exactly how to amend, but I think it needs to be amended.
Member Bogus.
Thank you. So just for clarity, audit does have their own funding request in here, and it's delineated appropriately. My concern is that we have an employee here that basically has 3 full-time jobs. And this person, I mean, I can call them at 10 o'clock at night, send a text message, and I get a phone call back. That's not appropriate expectations of this board to our employees, in my opinion. Like, I think that when we have someone who writes rules, who operates the grammar code and oversees UPAC, we need to break that up so that this person can have reasonable expectations of their job position. And when you're working like that, and I don't want to hire 2 people that we're going to overwork. I don't think that's fair in sporting. And almost everybody in the UPAC division busts it up 100 miles an hour all the time. And I just would like to see this be a space that people want to work, where they stay, and that we are offering the people who have stayed with us a long time and have committed many years of their life to this agency, that they are treated better. And some of the ways you treat people better are by decreasing their workload, specifically when, board weeks. I know we all know what our employees do during board week. Well, this employee does it all the weeks. And I would like to see us really step up and advocate for this division of the USBE. It's been long needed and long overdue. If somebody wants to amend it and move 2 of those to audit, I'm sure CAE Davis would smile. Even so, if they want to amend it and move 2 of those to Superintendent Jones, I'm sure he would smile. But I think when we go to the legislature with data that says we need 35, but we're really asking for 15, I would hope that they would listen to that and to respond in kind. I hope that would be something they would do. I think it's super important that we continue to discuss this and get our different divisions the people they need to do their jobs well.
Member Carey.
So I have a motion to amend, if that's in order. And it would be that the board move to amend the UPAC funding request to include 10 total FTE for UPAC and audit.
So the amendment is to, the amendment would to add UPAC and audit. So just add and audit. So it would read that, hold on, I've got two hands in the back, Elise and Scott.
Those are just two different funding requests, so we can add these to the two, or I just would love some clarity just to make sure I do it right.
That's
Yeah, and I'm happy to explain my thinking. I do think that UPAC needs FTEs. I think that audit needs FTEs. My concern is that if we vote on this and pass it for 10, another motion could be made to add another 10 on top of this to audit, right? And so then we're looking at 20 or 25. So I'd rather just have one funding request for the FTEs in both of these areas.
Scott, go ahead.
And I think this is a value add. That's why I was trying to remind you that you had directed staff to identify critical FTE needs across 3 areas. So my recommendation would be is to identify how many for UPAC, and then as part of it's in the backups, identify how many more FTEs than are in the packet for audit. Does that make sense? Because they're different titles and the amounts of funding are going to be different for the calculations. So I'm making this recommendation through the chair, right? That way we keep the integrity of what you first directed, which is 2 different funding proposals to Elite or Dr. Newey's point, and we keep that process or integrity in there. I hope that makes sense. Anyway.
So for a reminder to board members, if I'm understanding correctly, we were asking, or there's a request for 5 for audit and 2 for UPAC. And so if you want to rebalance however you'd like, right, if you say, okay, well, let's give 3 of those 8, let's give 3 of those to audit and the other 5 to UPAC. It's your motion, Member Carey, so I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, I understand that. I just would like more direction from the superintendent and staff generally, because I think they have greater insights into the needs of the organization globally. And so I would feel uncomfortable allocating a specific number to either audit or UPAC without hearing from the superintendent and staff as to their recommendation. So now, understanding, however, that the different titles and different funding sources, so I'm going to drop my motion to amend in light of what Deputy Superintendent Jones just shared with us, because it seems like I'm trying to put the proverbial square peg into a round hole. So I'll withdraw that motion.
And I can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Carey. When we meet before legislators or governors, we've done this. We did this last year, right? And we say, look, here's what the request is, but they know that UPAC's in trouble. They've discussed it, right? We say, look, we'll take what we can get. This is what we think we can get by with. We'll still be in the hole, right? We can have those conversations. So I think, Scott, tell me if I'm wrong. We can be somewhat, I don't want to say vague. That doesn't make, but I just said it. I get it. But we can put our proposal, and then we can have that real conversation saying, this is what we're asking for, but we both know we need help. So I'm happy to do that. If that's, and it feels like that's the direction, not the direction of the board, but that's what we're all feeling, like we need help. So Member Carey, go ahead.
So with that, Chair, would this language unnecessarily hamstring the leadership with that mobility to spread it around UPAC or audit, because it just refers to UPAC?
Yes, this would obviously say if we're trying to fight for a few extra on top of what's in backup, this would clearly say that UPAC would take priority, right? If we were to say, yeah, we want 10 here, 5 in audit, right? It kind of would.
Yep. And whoever's reading my mind, thank you. That looks perfect. So I don't know who's driving, but
So if they're reading your mind, I'm assuming then this is your new or reworded motion. Is that correct, Member Carey? You might have to. She's run out of mind reading.
I would just put to a total of 10 if we're looking for a number.
And let me clarify. Yeah, let me clarify. Are you saying 10 additional or to a
10
total
additional.
of 10 additional
Yeah.
on top of what's back there? I know, but this is Member Carey's motion
Yeah.
now. So as we get this up, Scott, go ahead, and Member Carey, we'll keep an eye on this and make sure that this is correct. Scott, go ahead.
So 10 additional and split out as determined by the superintendent. So 10 additional between UPAC and, but who decides how many for UPAC and how many for, because they're two separate funding requests. So if you want 10 additional, I'm sorry, sir, if you want 10 additional to cover both or augment the current requests for the numbers for UPAC and that, then would you leave it up to the staff to decide of the 10, 5 go here and 5 go here? Or, could we get that level of clarity, please?
Yeah, I would say as determined by the superintendent and board leadership. And again, I do that just because having watched board leadership at interim and watched them during the session, it is very fluid. You have someone that is dead set on a number, a cap, and I just want to make sure that both staff and board leadership have the flexibility to say, looks like the legislature is really heavy on audit. Let's put our number there versus UPAC. So I just want to increase maximum flexibility for staff and board leadership in that setting. Thank you.
So the potential motion before the board then is that the board direct the superintendent to amend the current UPAC and audit critical FTE funding requests to increase the FTE requests to increase the total number of FTEs to 17 as determined by the superintendent and board leadership. Is there a second? We have a second. Member Carey, would you like to speak to this additionally? Okay, Member Bogus?
Close enough, right?
Thank you, sir. I just want to, and maybe this is through you to Member Carey. Are we going to honor these funding requests? Because, for example, our audit department has clearly delineated our UPAC has delineated, but this kind of says, hey, if we want 1 to go to audit and 16 to go to UPAC, I really don't want to act against what they've already said is critical. And I just want to make certain that that's not going to happen as this is stated. And then I have one final comment, maybe question, but a comment that might lead to a question.
Yeah, Scott, go ahead.
I can answer that question. My understanding of the motion is we have the base request in place right now. Audit has requested a particular amount of FTEs and UPAC has. So that would stay at that level. We would just decide with the additional ones that are being proposed, how to array those between the two requests. So we would minimally support, the current amount, and then the decision would be the superintendent's to decide how to increase those above what you're seeing right now. Does that help?
That does help.
Okay.
So I would like to speak before we vote, but that's it.
You want me to come back around to you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Member Davis.
Question for Superintendent Hart and the maker of the motion, both of you. You get to stay there in that corner. Why did the superintendency choose not to request any additional FTE for this year if we are 2 years behind in what we need to be doing with our own compliance, monitoring, investigating, and whatnot. And to the maker of the motion, it seems like the agency that is doing all of this, because these audits get directed, or these complaints get directed to agency members to take care of. So wouldn't the people who are taking care of the complaints need some FTE? But wondering why the agency isn't included in this.
Okay, we'll go to Member Carey first and then Superintendent Hart.
Thank you. I agree, Board Member Davis. The only reason I didn't do that was that it was my understanding the superintendent wasn't requesting an FTE. Had they, I would have included that here as let the staff and superintendent have the flexibility to appoint that FTE to any one of those three areas. But again, the only reason I did not was it was my understanding no request was being made, but I would consider that a friendly if that changes.
Okay, can we hear from?
Yep, we'll go to Superintendent Hart.
It's a matter of timing. I've been pushing really hard for you to have a strategic plan, and I feel like I need to make my decisions based on a strategic plan. At the time that was asked about FTE, I had not, I wasn't sure where the board wanted to go. The minute the board says we want more work done in the compliance space, then it's, that's somewhat of a reorganization. And the first thing you should do, in my mind, is use the resources you have and look at the funding you already have and whether or not you can move around funding and move around personnel. That wasn't something that at the time I was willing to say, I think we need to spend a significant amount of money in reallocating for a compliance department. Now, I think if you ask me that same question, I have a much different answer. One, because you have as your fourth goal, I can't call it right offhand, but you have signaled. And this conversation alone moves that conversation forward. We have been looking internally at some changes with staffing to do just this. Trying to be revenue neutral, trying to respect the information that we're getting about the lack of ongoing funds and only having one-time funds. So the first thing I want to do as your superintendent is utilize the resources we have. What I am hearing today is really the first time we have talked publicly and in a board meeting, in a public setting, that you are interested in putting this amount of resources towards those issues. So what that means is the leadership team and I go back and look at how close can we get to 10 FTE without having to ask for additional funding, if that makes sense. That's the first thing to do responsibly. But that's a long roundabout answer to say I wasn't going to change the major focus and time and effort of the agency without some signal from the board. Now, what I would like to do is do just that, figure out what we have, what we can do with the money that we have, and then come back to you and say, if these are the things you want to accomplish, this is what it'll take as an additional ask to legislature. But heretofore, I haven't been given that directive. So I don't know if that answers the question or...
May I, Chair?
Please.
Yes, and I think that's a wise to look at what we already have. But I think that in order to do all of that, you need to add the agency into the list of the increase of 10.
Oh, clearly.
Because it's... So if Member Carey still feels that that would be friendly to add the agency there, and I know we've talked about friendly amendments, but I think if there is an objective
Well, keep in
from the
mind
board?
that corrective action plans are written by, in the past, 95 to 100% of them were written by Scott Jones. I have signed some since becoming superintendent. Corrective action plans come from the agency, from Deputy Jones or myself, based on information that we get from UPAC, audit.
Right.
But the corrective action is done by the agency. So if you want more in that space, then the agency is where you put it. If you want more audits, then you put it in audit. If you want to be specific to handling the educator concerns and not CAPS in general, then that would be earmarked to UPAC. So it's a matter of organizing the agency around your priorities, but until I know your priorities, I cannot organize around them.
Well, I support a lot of what's been discussed today because I think that we need to cut down the wait time in UPAC personally. But then I hesitate to add more into audit if we're not adding more into this to support to help people get to compliance. And that is where the agency comes in. So if member Carey's comfortable and the board's comfortable, I would add agency into this consideration of the additional 10.
Okay, so there is, not reminder, it's 1:59, and we're gonna move through this. So there's an amendment to add, excuse me,
The agency.
the agency. So it would read that the board direct the superintendent to amend the current UPAC, audit critical or audit, and agency critical FTE funding requests to increase the FTE requests to increase. Is that repetitive? Okay. To increase the total number of FTEs to 17 as determined by the superintendent and board leadership. Is there a second to that amendment? Once I get a second, I'll ask if there's opposition. There is a second. Is there any opposition to this amendment? Not hearing any. That is the current motion. Board members, it is now 2:00. I would ask, I've got lights from Lear, Earl, Bogus, and staff 4. I would ask if this is not going to change your vote, then let's get ready to vote here so that we can, okay. Okay, Member Lear, go ahead.
Which, and I'm asking Scott because he's the only one with any longevity, not because the superintendent couldn't ask or answer the question. How many FTE increases have we been successful in getting in the last 3 years?
We've never received the full extent of our FTE requests. There's been, so one year we asked for 8 and we got enough money to hire 2. So there have been some years when we do it, but we've never, since I've been here, received the full amount of requests for FTEs.
Was 2 the most we've ever?
No, there was one year when there was 5 out of like 12 that we requested. So yeah,
that's enough of a message. And then my second follow-up to that, if I may, is that if we get those and there's reorganization, or as Superintendent Hart was talking about, are we going to be willing to lay off people because they're not all fungible employees? A curriculum person can't become a UPAC investigator or an auditor. So I'm just wondering if in this vote we realize that there are going to be some possible layoffs, if this is even remotely something the legislature would be responsive to.
Okay. I'm not seeing a response from there, so I'm going to go. Okay. Thank you. Member Bogus.
Yeah, I just would encourage us to support this. I think that there's a grave difference between critical. It's different than the staff we need to meet the expectations of the legislature without overworking people and asking for them to dedicate their lives 24/7 to this agency. And I would just hope that when we send this message to the legislature. We communicate the difference between critical needs to survive and keep our heads above water and what is needed to actually meet the expectations that they have for us. And so I would just encourage us to vote for this and to advocate for it respectively. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion before the board then is that the board direct the superintendent to amend the current UPAC, audit, and agency critical FTE funding requests to increase the total number of FTEs to 17 as determined by the superintendent and board leadership. Let's vote.
Member Bogus?
Yes.
Member Bogus is a yes. Member Booth? Member Booth, are you still with us? Okay, he is absent. Member Britton?
Yes.
Member Davis? Member Davis is a yes. Member Earl?
No, this is the...
Okay, Member Earl is a yes. Member Green?
Yes.
Member Hall? Member Hall is a yes. Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Kelly is a yes. Member Carey?
Yes.
Member Carey is a yes. Member Lear?
No.
Member Lear is a no. Member Longacre? Member Longacre is a yes. Member Reel? No. Member Reel is a no. Vice Chair Wood?
Yes.
Thank you. I am a yes, and Chair Hymas.
Yes.
And Chair Hymas is a yes. That motion passes 12-2, the nays being Member Lear and Member Reel, with Member Booth absent.
Thank you. I would seek a final motion. Do we have a second? I don't see another action item.
It's for the mathematics. Is there no action on that then?
It was a potential funding request
Right.
put together by staff. It could have been an action item here if the board member chose to make a motion.
Right.
Just letting you know.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
okay. Member Earl.
The question of the first, if the items listed there were coming back next month. My understanding is they were. So I did not move something because that's why I
Okay.
asked that. Am I wrong in saying that?
Okay, so yeah, this is why I need to clarify this. When board member Earl asked that question, Chair, I was saying the ones that have already been identified as or directed by you. So you asked us for a list from the staff. We gave you the list. To our understanding, you would decide, hey, you need to, yes, go forward, move forward with putting together an RFF, a request for funding for next month for the mathematics. So I was assuming that you were going to do something like that. So I answered yes, those would all come forward in in October for your finalization of it. So,
But we didn't do that with the Beverly Taylor Sorensen, right?
So it sounds like Deputy Superintendent's looking for clarification because we do have a list of funding requests. So Deputy Superintendent Newey?
so are we talking about the K-8 literacy request, or are we talking about the mathematics at the top? This one.
I don't know what
This
the
one.
mathematics is.
That
What am I
one right
missing?
there.
Okay, looks like Deputy Superintendent Newey might have some more
Right.
information.
I think you were probably thinking the K-8 literacy,
Oh, that's
which
what
I
I was
was
thi-
too.
that's what I was
So I
thinking.
said yes. But
Oh,
this one was put into the backups because the process was for Superintendent Hart to bring a list of staff proposals so that you could action those. It's in the record.
included in the?
So
So,
Deputy, go ahead.
Any of the backup items that look like this, these are funding proposals that we've already put together and will come back to you in October. So these will come back to you, the Beverly Taylor Sorensen, UPAC, FTEs. This one, however, was one that we had been directed as staff to put together additional staff requests for consideration. So this one will not come back to you in October currently.
So my understanding is if we do not direct staff to bring it back, then this
Right.
will not go forward.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
can I make the,
Yep.
and I
Member
thought
Earl.
this was included in their recommendation. It is, but their concern is if the other doesn't go forward, this is like we need this. So there's the difference there, is what I'm understanding. And I guess because we don't have to move this forward, I just make a motion that we consider this a case to consider for the mathematics assessment. I can't read it, it's still small. It's not going big for me.
Early mathematics benchmark.
Early
assessment.
mathematics benchmark assessment.
So you want to make a motion to bring that back next month?
Yeah.
And, okay, we'll get,
Okay.
I need a second.
Here's where we are, because I'm going to try to follow our processes. There was a motion to adjourn that was seconded. It's not debatable.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to ask this group, all in favor of adjourning, aye. Say aye. All opposed, no. Or aye, whatever. Okay. There were no ayes. This meeting is not adjourned. So this motion is in order. We've got a motion that says that the board directs superintendent to develop a funding request for the early mathematics benchmark. Is there a second? Can we vote? Yes. Member Earl says yes. Let's go ahead and vote.
Member Bogus? Member Bogus is a yes. Member Booth is absent. Member
This is a
Britton?
question, not her.
Yes.
Member Davis? Yes. Member Davis is a yes. Member Earl? Yes. Member Earl is a yes. Member Green?
Yes.
Member Hall? Member Hall is a yes. Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Kelly is a yes. Member Carey?
Yes.
Member Carey is a yes. Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Lear is a yes. Member Longacre?
Yes.
Member Longacre is a yes. Member Reel?
Yes.
Member Reel is a yes. Vice Chair Wood?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wood, thank you. I am a yes. Chair Hymas?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously with Member Booth absent.
Okay, I've got member Longacre. I don't know. There you go.
I've been so patient. Can I make a funding request, please?
You can.
Okay.
There's no other motion
Okay.
before us.
Thank you. I want to make a motion that the board direct the superintendent to develop a funding request for potential options for providing funding for paraprofessionals in K through 3 classrooms.
Second.
There's been a motion made, a second. Go ahead, member Longacre.
Yeah, I think a lot of I'll be really quick. We want to get out of here, but a lot of the decisions that we make is to benefit and improve the classroom. And I know for a fact that if we have a paraprofessional in every K through 3 classroom, it will solve so many of our problems. And that is a way to streamline and let everyone not only see, but physically see and feel the effects of having a paraprofessional in the classroom. I'm done.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, let's go ahead and vote.
Member Bogus? Yes. Member Bogus is a yes. Member Booth? Oh, absent. Member Britton? Member Britton, are you with us still? Okay, Member Davis? Yes. Member Davis is a yes. Member Earl? Yes. Member Earl is a yes. Member Green?
Yes.
Member Hall? Member Hall is a yes. Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Kelly is yes. Member Carey?
Yes.
Member Carey is yes. Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Lear is yes. Member Longacre?
Yes.
Member Longacre is a yes. Member Reel?
Yes.
Member Reel is a yes. Vice Chair Wood?
Yes.
Vice Chair, thank you. I'm a yes. Chair Hymas?
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously, 13 in favor with 2 absent.
Okay, I still have a light on. I know people are packing up. There's a motion to adjourn.
My
got
light was on. I
member-
think I was next in line, right?
Member Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion that the motions that were not addressed in this board meeting be moved to the October agenda.
I think they will automatically. So, and then I will have you queued up, regardless of lights. I've got you first, and then member Carey.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody hit a microphone. Let's get an official final motion. Member Carey,
Motion to adjourn.
there's a second. Motion to adjourn, there's a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you online. Thank you, board members. Thank you, staff.